Where's the best place in the state of Washington to get a limit of Dungeness crabs without a boat? But I'm back. I'm here to put you on the best harvest recreation opportunities in the Pacific Northwest. And we got to talk some coastal steelhead, some updates on escapement, on what hatchery fish are returning where. But also we got to talk about the situation with the Chehalis, what's really going on with our coastal steelhead closure. And all right, so this isn't exactly a big secret, but the public pier at Westport is probably the easiest, best place all year long to get limit of Dungeness crab without a boat. Gear is really simple. You know, you got these folding traps that when they drop, they open up automatically, and you can attach to a fishing line or enough line that you can toss. You know, I've got two segments of I think 50 feet of line combined here. You know, I'm doing two things. I'm tossing these traps with fishing rod, and I'm also just hand tossing them. The important thing is you got to clear the riffraff at the bottom of the pier, so you got to get it out far enough for that. In terms of bait, super easy. Chicken drumsticks. They hold on super well, and you just soak them in some clam juice overnight, and you've got a great fishing bait here. Oh, you can also use that Potskey's crab and shrimp fuel or Procure, whatever your brand is of that type of stuff. You soak them in that too. That'll work. And you wait about 10-15 minutes and you bring them in. You know.
All right, I can't help anymore, Ash. I can't wait any longer.
You want to make sure you bring them in fast so that trap will close as you're reeling, and you just kind of sort through your undersized crab. You know, the limit out there, or the size out there is 6 inches instead of 6 1/4 like it is in Puget Sound.
Oh yeah. So what that is?
Might be a keeper.
Might be.
Done. It's a male.
It's male. Measurable, but I think it's short.
Yeah, probably.
It's a bit of a drive to get all the way out to Westport, but I mean, there's free crab dinner right there. I mean, besides the cost of gas, of course.
You don't have a fishing rod.
Okay. All right, what do we got?
Oh, there's a big boy.
You might be out on the coast anyways doing various things with steelhead or some of the other opportunities along the way. So this could be a great way to get that crab and get that crab on the menu in time for Christmas. Now, there are a couple things to note here. There is a tide aspect to this. The best is if you can fish on either incoming or a slack tide. Once that outgoing, particularly if it's a big ebb tide combined with the currents from the river draining into Grace Harbor right there, the Chehalis and Grace Harbor rivers, that can produce a lot of current, and the crabbing definitely gets worse as that ramps up. You could have currents up to like 4 knots. So you definitely want to be mindful of what those currents are doing. I use the Navionics app to figure that out. You can also look at the NOAA forecast for the bar and avoid periods of max ebb. You can also just look at the tides and make sure you're in between a low and a high tide and fish that the incoming tide. All right, so what's new? Not a lot of change from WDFW standpoint, right? We don't have any big closures or announcements of anything like that. But I do want to share something new on PNWBestLife.com. So WDFW publishes the creel report from Southwest Washington as their fishing reports weekly. So they creel check a lot of the rivers there, the Cowlitz, the Klamath, the Lewis, the Washougal, Klickitat, all these different rivers, the main stem Columbia, and they publish that creel check report on their website once a week. So I started grabbing that, storing it in my database, putting the charts up there on these steelhead pages, right? So if you go to PNWBestLife.com, go to the menu, navigate to the steelhead fishing menu, and pick your river. And if it's one of these ones in Southwest Washington, you'll see essentially the WDFW fishing report, how many fish were caught from the bank, from the boat, what kind of fish, kept, released, etc. And obviously focus on steelhead on those steelhead pages. But that's a new feature that you'll see updated along with the hatchery escapement report numbers in the graphs as well. So, hopefully this is all about trying to help you and everyone. Shoot, I look at this too, figure out when is the time to go, when the fish in. There's a lot of other dynamics to look at in terms of river flows and things like that. I'm going to do a video at some point here about really where to find, how to find salmon and steelhead, looking at all the available information before you even go to the river. The bottom line is if you got time, you go, right? I mean, that's what time on the water, that's what it's all about. But, time is limited, gas is limited, and these tools hopefully allow you to make better decisions about when to go, when it's really worth your hard earned. So take a look at those features we got up there. We gotta talk some data here. On the COHO side, right, still have some fish trickling in to the Cowlitz and the Chehalis River system will get COHO all through the December period. But as you know, that system shut down last week, and that's it. We don't have another opportunity on that. More on that in a few minutes. But if you're looking for some COHO, definitely check out the Cowlitz as an opportunity. Still fish being caught there, as well as there's still some chum trickling in to Minter Creek, according to those hatchery escapement reports there. Usually a lot of people have forgotten about chum in December, but they're still getting fish, so it might be worth an opportunity if you're just looking to wet a line, bend a rod. All right, now let's talk steelhead. Everyone wants to know what's going on with the steelhead front. And look, the bogus shield is getting fish here on the coast. That is historically one of the best December steelhead rivers based on the historical catch data. That's definitely worth your gas and your time. If you have an opportunity to go out there for a day, stay a couple days, that would be optimal to get some steelhead. There's some Southwest Washington steelhead too. As I talked about, the Lewis River has got that early returning run, and they're in. Catches aren't being reported super great yet on the creel check, but the fish are there. So you might want to give that a try. Get your steelhead fix on this week before Christmas and after. Right, now we got to talk a little bit more about the Chehalis and Coastal Steelhead situation, right? Because this is one that, like, even though the rationale given to us by WDFW is that, like, that this is all about protecting wild steelhead. Got to protect the wild steelhead. And let's just take a look. We just want to unpack some of it. Take a look at it with the numbers, with the data, in sort of an impartial way, an objective way, and let's just see what's going on here. So, all right. So this first graph here is the wild steelhead escapement on the Chehalis, the entire Chehalis River basin. And what you see is, we've only made escapement 10 of the last 26 years, right? We're really focused on what's going on right now, but these escapement goals haven't been achieved in quite some time. The Chehalis River has had challenges, in the past 3 decades with making these escapement goals. But let's dig into it a little bit further and kind of what's coming up. So, I grabbed this out of the North of Falcon process. This is looking at the correlation of ocean conditions and what they are right now as related to the coastal steelhead return. And these things are certainly correlated with salmon and with steelhead, right? Where things haven't been great in the last few years with the warm water blob and all these different dynamics. The probabilities that they're going to happen in an increasing amount as in general the planet is warming, and so these ocean conditions are warming. So this can continue to be a challenge for these coastal steelhead, these Chehalis steelhead. So let's dig into it a little bit more though, because what's the viability of the hatchery run size on the Chehalis River? Are there enough hatchery fish there to create a fishing opportunity? Is it worth trying to figure out these dynamics between wild and hatchery and make this thing go? As you can see, the run size of the hatchery fish is prolific, right? There's a massive amount of fish planted, steelhead planted on the tribs of the Chehalis River, right? Whether it's the Sats at Wainuchi, the Skookumchuck, the Newaukum, right? You've got all these smolts planted and great returns of hatchery steelhead that are there to provide opportunity for tribal and recreational harvest. But anytime you have fishing pressure, whether it's commercial or recreational, right, and you're trying to target these hatchery fish, you're going to have encounters with wild steelhead as well, and that's going to result in wild steelhead mortalities. But how much is really the question? Are there ways to minimize impact on wild steelhead while still providing opportunity for hatchery fish, be that, could be the coho that return all December long and into January throughout Grace Harbor rivers, or even those hatchery steelhead that are making their way in around the same time as the wild fish. And so there's a scenario that I put out there that I know the people who are working with WDFW to come craft these seasons also put out there regarding leaving the entire month of December open for hatchery coho, hatchery steelhead opportunity on the lower part of the Chehalis and the Satsop River, or maybe another tributary that has some early returning fish and a lot of coho opportunity. And so we were able to calculate the steelhead estimated mortalities and the encounters. We got the mortalities from the encounters based on the comparative run sizes, right? So if you know the run size for wild, you know the run size for hatchery, they're arriving at the same time, although I've heard hatchery tend to arrive a little bit earlier than the wild, which makes the scenario even better. You could say, okay, we know what the hatchery catch data is from the catch record cards, and so we have an idea of the likelihood of encountering for every hatchery steelhead you catch, how many wild steelhead you probably encountered as well on average by month. And then we can calculate using a 10% mortality rate. We can say, all right, this is how many wild steelhead will probably die in the process of encountering this many hatchery steelhead, right? It's pretty simple math. And so if you look at this graph, right, you can see that, some of these opportunities, like a December lower Satsop, lower Chehalis Satsop River opportunity would result in less than one steelhead, wild steelhead mortality, right? So, but this wasn't on this wasn't available. This is not where WDFW landed with regards to the season. Now the question is why? If there was viable opportunity there, and the biologists at WDFW are looking at this and they are thumbs upping the science and the approach, and if this is viable from that standpoint, why wouldn't this opportunity be there? Why would folks at WDFW shut down this option? Now what was stated publicly on the town hall was that this was shared with the tribe, the co-managers, and they shut it down because they wanted maximum protection for wild steelhead. Now, I do think the tribe, probably said they wanted maximum protection for wild steelhead, because if the wild steelhead aren't protected, the tribe doesn't get a non-selective season down the road on this resource. So it's very important, really, to everyone that the wild steelhead are protected. However, what the scenario I've laid out does provide maximum protection for wild steelhead. So I don't think it was the tribe who shut down, and really the tribe is our biggest ally when it comes to being pro-consumption, pro-connection with the land and the resource, and everything that we're about in this lifestyle of harvest recreation. So it's oftentimes easy to blame the tribe, and I think sometimes they can become the scapegoat for all this, but man, I think that's really sort of a lazy approach, because I don't think that's what's going on here. All right, so one thing we do know about what's going on here is there is a power struggle going on at WDFW, right? When it comes to the hunting, angling community that works there and is pro consumption, pro conservation in this style of conservation we've had for the last century or so. But there are other groups. And matter of fact, the commission is now has a 5-4 majority of, and the commission is sort of like, think of it as like a company board on steroids, right? Because they don't just fire the top person there, which would be the director of WDFW. They also set policy. So this is this commission that sort of sets policy and really decides kind of what is going on. WDFW, they have a 5-4 majority of folks who are anti-consumption, and really, I think in the long run, anti-conservation. Now, of course, no one's going to say they're anti-conservation, but if you're anti-consumption and that's where all the money for conservation comes, then what are we talking about? So, there's these groups who are really making a push and making Washington kind of a battleground state for this idea that you can have a approach to conservation that involves really limited or no consumption. So catch and release fishing, no hunting. This is the group that took the spring black bear hunts off the table really permanently. And has made predator management in a lot of places around Washington really challenging. That predator management discussion is kind of the battlegrounds for all of this, of what's going on here. So there are folks who work at WDFW also who are in that same group of promoting really what they want is catch and release fishing, no consumption, so on and so forth. So I'm not saying I for sure know that what's going on here, but it wouldn't surprise me if some people look at this coastal steelhead situation and they go, well, it's an excuse. It's a ready-made excuse to say, let's shut everything down because we want to protect the wild steelhead, rather than looking at it from the standpoint of, can we protect wild steelhead and provide the maximum opportunity for the consumption of these hatchery fish, whether it's coho or steelhead? And I don't think that's the way this is being approached. Matter of fact, I think we could say for sure that's not how it's being approached, because we're not getting those seasons, and we're not, the alignment isn't there on the science side for this sort of approach to removing consumption opportunities. So you can read the whole article at PNWBestLife.com. It's the 2023 Chehalis Coastal Steelhead is the name of the blog post. You can take a look at that and dig into more of the data and the graphs and all the logic behind this. But what can we do about this, right? I haven't seen a great answer to that. I've asked people who are way more connected than me that question, and I don't think we know, other than we've got to stay engaged. Some people's approach is like, well, I'm not going to buy my license, blah blah blah, and cut off funding. And I don't think that's the right move at this point. It might be down the road, but cutting off funding sort of just furthers the goal of those who are anti-consumption. I think we need more engagement. I think we need more involvement, and we need a larger and louder voice. And certainly that's what I'm committed to here with PNW Best Life, is promoting these opportunities. And it can be frustrating at times, but sometimes I know from experience, sometimes you got to circle the drain just long enough on a critical issue that the moment might appear where you can save the issue and you can have a major impact. But you got to kind of ride it down, as painful as it is. You kind of got to go with it and stay engaged and be frustrated and go along with it until that moment appears. So we haven't hit that yet. I'm still going to buy my hunting license, fishing license. You can do what you want, but I think this is not the time to pull out. So let's talk about the opportunities in the week ahead. As always, it comes back to what the weather's doing, what are the tides doing, and what are the critters doing, right, in terms of our opportunities. So when it comes to with the weather, we've got all this like Arctic air. If you follow the weather people in Washington, like you got all this Arctic air coming down and really just making things a lot colder, and there's moisture as well. So we're gonna have some snow, we're gonna have some ice on the road in different places. This is kind of the weather where I don't like to get out and do a lot. I don't want to tow the boat around on icy roads. I don't want to drive in like rural areas looking for steelhead streams when there's a lot of ice on the road. And so I might not do a whole lot this week. I think there's a lot of opportunities though for people who do want to get out. Again, this is the time when those coastal steelhead streams of early returning fish, those early runs, like on the Lewis, they really start to pop, right? And this is where the peak window really starts. So if you've been hitting local steelhead water that's open, as the season on it, and you're waiting for those early fish, if you still haven't hooked a steelhead and you've been going, this week might be your week. When it comes to the saltwater, right now there's a daytime squidding opportunity, and there's crabbing open in a lot of the Puget Sound for winter crab. So and you look at the tides, you've got this like morning flood tide, which is it's in many ways optimal for chasing these squid in the daytime and for targeting them even in like the early morning hours, which is something I really like to do. I'm really looking forward to getting out and doing that. So that's an opportunity, and there's the squid it's happening. You know, even in the South Sound or Mid Sound, places like Des Moines, Redondo, certainly Edmonds, Shoal, and these kind of places. You know, and I haven't got to get out really and do that yet, so I'm looking forward to that. Hope you all have a good holiday. I'll probably make one more video before Christmas. I won't guarantee it. Yeah, till next time.